Roads and bridges are great, but have you tried flying tubes? How CDOT is spending our money to prepare for an uncertain future. Until the flying tubes are built, too many Coloradans will still be a long drive from mental health help. There's something closing that gap. You've probably heard New Belgium wants to sell out to an international company. What does that tell us about the future of beer in Colorado? And 2 million pounds of ice, the coldest Christmas display, which opens before Thanksgiving because, of course it does. That's next.
Cars that talk to the road, tubes that move people at high speeds, pavement that charges electric cars as they drive. CDOT is spending money on projects like that, trying to get us ready for when we inevitably become the Jetsons. Our Marshall Zellinger looks at how the state is rethinking its technology spending.
When someone drove their truck onto the HOV lane on I-25 at 70th Avenue last month, the driver suddenly hit their brakes. Why? They were going the wrong way. Once that driver entered the striped area that the camera monitors, it triggered electric wrong-way signs. Since CDOT started this system, 4 wrong-way drivers stopped and turned around.
The cameras themselves, plus the signage, that package together is about $13,000 a unit.
This is one already successful new way CDOT is spending money on technology, unlike the $65,000 CDOT spent to study Arrivo, the high-speed network of levitating pods that never lifted off the ground, or the $149,000 spent studying pavement that could allow an electric car to charge as it moves. Enter CDOT's new chief of, fancy title, Innovative Mobility.
It means we're looking at ways to move people better through traditional and non-traditional means. So new technologies, but also things you're used to like buses and biking and walking.
The new technologies Sophie Schulman is looking at in the short term is less flashy than floating pods.
It's like a little radio that's inside the car that we've placed there.
Some CDOT vehicles currently have devices that talk to these roadside units, like this one near I-70 and C-470. The data they collect could help develop technology that allow cars to talk to each other to keep traffic moving and avoid crashes.
We certainly see a lot of potential from a congestion reduction standpoint and from a safety standpoint.
So where's the money come from? Because CDOT doesn't have enough money, right? Well, the cars talking to the devices on the highway, that money would come from a pot of money that the CDOT Transportation Commission has already set aside from previous years. So later this week, Sophie Schulman is going to ask for $2 million of that money that's already been set aside to go toward this technology that we could perhaps see in the future, cars talking to each other and allowing us to move at regular speed, not the 800-mile-per-hour floating speed.
Sure. So set aside space tubes. So you take all of our cars that burn the dead dinosaurs and you replace them with electric cars. That doesn't change congestion.
No, that's a big push by the Innovative Mobility Office and by Governor Polis getting more electric vehicles out there. And I asked her, how do electric vehicles ease congestion? And it's both electric vehicles and then getting people to carpool and then enhancing the bus and bike and walkability aspect of the state. So electric cars first, and then the basic buses, and then the new technology, perhaps.
And then the space tubes. All right. Thank you, Marshall. Developers want to build this shiny new stadium district right next to Mile High. It would have a significant impact on neighbors. But don't worry, developers gave plenty of notice to the empty parking lots that will be affected. Notices warning neighbors about a public meeting on the project largely face empty lots. The group in charge of the development says they have followed city rules in posting notices of tomorrow night's public meeting within the required distances. Stadium District did say that it mailed notices to people within 400 feet and also gave a heads up to their neighborhood groups. So suppose that somebody takes the brave step of seeking help for their mental health. Now suppose that person lives in rural Colorado. Help can be a long ways away. Telemedicine brings a doctor to your kitchen table. Now CU Boulder researchers figuring out how to do long-distance therapy safely. Here's our Anusha Roy.
The barriers to mental health care aren't invisible for Russell Goodman.
It is worth saving our lives despite how uninspiring it might seem at the time because of the behaviors associated with addiction.
Goodman says the right access saved his life, but that it wasn't in Colorado. And now that he lives in Steamboat Springs, he says sometimes help is as far as another county away.
I speak with pride and passion about the amazing things that are the characteristics of Colorado on a regular basis. I can't have that conversation about our system of mental health care.
He likes that CU Boulder researchers are developing an app to track a person's mental health.
Language is really a window into a person's mind.
What time did you wake up?
It requires follow-through from patients who would routinely answer a set of questions.
What's happening in this picture?
That information would automatically feed back to their clinician.
We look at aspects of how they speak to look at their emotional state. We can look at what they recall to see how well their memory works.
This way, a doctor can continue to monitor a person without requiring them to come in, which can help people who don't live near a doctor or who struggle to afford consistent care. But it's what happens afterwards that concerns Goodman, because in Routt County, there are no state-run walk-in centers.
If I said I want to walk in the front door of somewhere, I'd have to walk the 200 and something miles to Grand Junction.
Currently, there are 15 psychiatrists per 100,000 Coloradans, according to Mental Health Colorado. That ratio goes up to 92 per 100,000 for primary care physicians.
And this is not going to solve those problems.
So this could also help psychiatrists monitor more patients. And the researchers were really clear today that this kind of artificial intelligence is never meant to replace what doctors do. So they want to be really careful about how people use this app, which is why they're taking their time to research this. They're saying their studies so far are promising, but they really want to make sure that if it's used as safely as possible.
Yeah. I use that Teladoc to get a refill on my heartburn medication one time. I'm trying to imagine, though, somebody who's in a really acute situation reaching out for help through that.
Yeah, so right now, for people who do have access to that, they have to be in a doctor's office, and then they can be connected to a psychiatrist or a psychologist. Mental Health Colorado said that there are conversations going on right now in the state about how do you take that and be able to do it at home. Haven't quite reached that point yet, but that conversation is definitely happening.
All right. Thank you, Nusha.
Our next question comes from a viewer named Daryl, who emailed next to ask why cyclists on a busy road are playing a game of inches with traffic. Daryl sent us a photo, said this is a 4-inch wide bike lane on Highway 74 in Morrison. Daryl, we talked to CDOT, and they say this is not supposed to be a bike lane. That's a shoulder. They are not expecting cyclists to ride a tightrope of pavement. Bikes are supposed to be sharing the actual road here. Obviously not the safest option, but probably safer than trying to thread the needle of a 4-inch bike lane.
It's an old lane and a new lane. I can see how Daryl was confused. It's not a bike lane. So I know a touch about craft beer. I did not expect, of all Colorado's breweries, that New Belgium was going to sell to a beer giant. Colorado's largest craft brewer is employee-owned, after all. So today's shocker of an impending sale must be approved by the employees before New Belgium gets swallowed up by a beer maker that's based out of Australia and Japan. Our Steve Steger has been researching New Belgium beer, like I have, pint at a time, for years now.
Yeah, lots of research indeed. And neither side will say how much New Belgium is making on this deal. But Kim Jordan, New Belgium's co-founder, said more than 300 employees are getting $100,000 in retirement money as part of this. Now, when this was announced, New Belgium was the 4th largest independent brewer in the country, according to the Brewers Association. And Bart Watson, the chief economist there, says, though it seems surprising, it really is not. There's a lot of competition in widely distributed regional craft breweries. And that whole employee-owned model can come with a lot of debt, which Watson says can hinder growth for a brewery that size. So New Belgium grew exponentially from an operation in the founder's basement to a major employer with facilities in North Carolina and Colorado, distributing to 50 states. We asked Watson if a smaller brewery might ever reach the level of New Belgium.
Never say never, and over the long term, you see lots of companies rise and fall, and so I think there's always that possibility. But I certainly think that window has gotten tighter, that it's going to be harder than ever before for small breweries to achieve that scale. New Belgium, along with companies like Sierra Nevada and Boston Beer, really rose during a period that I don't think we're going to see again in the near future.
Boston Beer, the makers of Sam Adams. Now, New Belgium is the 11th largest brewing company in the country. And after their sale, which is still pending employee approval, Odell would become the largest independent brewery in Colorado. Kyle, I know we got a few questions about that.
Yeah, and I think people like you and me who love craft beer and love the people who make craft beer, you kind of get torn on this because you want to drink local, and then the question is, what's local? You also don't want to begrudge somebody for building a business and then cashing in on the business that they built.
Kind of like the American dream in a way, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And it's just, you have the choice when you go to a bar and you see beers on tap, and if you know enough about where they're made.
At the end of the day, people can drink what they want to drink, or not at all. Thank you, sir. In his first year in office, Democratic Governor Jared Polis is showing his expertise into getting in petty squabbles with our nearby states. He flamed New Mexico in the Great Chili War of 2019, and now Polis is throwing more shade over the Midwest than a total solar eclipse. Some background on this. Perhaps you saw that South Dakota has a new anti-drug campaign with the tagline, "Meth, we're on it." We're on it is a great slogan if you're selling a topical itch cream, but maybe not for meth. And we've showed you Nebraska's tourism campaign headlined, "Honestly, it's not for everyone," which I'm pretty sure was also Next's original motto. Anyway, so in comes Colorado's governor to drop the kind of Twitter pettiness typically reserved for TV news anchors. Tweeting, "Our nearby states have set a bizarre low bar with their outreach mottos. What should Colorado's response be?" Okay, class, let's discuss. What should Colorado's cringeworthy new motto be? So you get to run to the fridge for a New Belgium or a beer of your choice during the commercial. I have to sit here sober as a gopher, and I'm bored as anything. So send me your suggestions during the break. Email next@9news.com or shoot a motto to me with the hashtag HeyNext. Colorado's new motto. Ready, set, go.
There's something about this spot.
All the energy of Denver is on this street.
An artist is capturing what gave East Colfax a lasting reputation.
It's kind of humbling seeing this, my artwork is part of the history now of Colfax.
And it's a familiar story told in 2 million pounds of ice. Next.
In spite of the cloud cover today, almost 70 in the city. Tonight, I'm tracking 2 storms, a front from the northwest that'll be here early, and then this system, which will come in behind this one Wednesday into Thursday afternoon. Our high, very comfortable today up and down the front range. Temperatures from 60 to 70 degrees. That high cloud deck will remain in place tonight. It's a dry night tonight and tomorrow. But starting tomorrow afternoon, we get rain mixing with snow tomorrow night, about 1 to 2 inches of snow by Thursday afternoon. The heavy snow will come into the southern and central mountains where we've had drier conditions and even drought scenario playing out. Lower elevations will see some light snow with an icy mix for the drive tomorrow night, but it's a fast-moving system. We warm up again for the weekend. Cloudy, mild, and dry with a low of 38. Tomorrow's high 48, rain by 3, snow by 7. Light snow 1 to 2 inches by Thursday afternoon. Thursday, the coldest day of the week. Mid-40s Friday, and then sunshine with 50s and 60s heading into the weekend. And another chance of rain and snow Monday into Tuesday, Kyle.
Thank you, Kathy. I'm serious, roughly 100 of you have sent in your new state mottos. They're coming in too fast for me to read. There appears to be a common theme. I like Kim's idea. Colorado, the grass is always greener. And then Ken's, Colorado, hi, how are you? East Colfax is the kind of street that you can really feel. Look up and see an artist capturing that feel in a new way.
All the energy of Denver is on this street.
There's always something new on Colfax. What's new right now is a new set of banners done by our friend and artist Carl Christian Krumpholz.
In my head, there's always an order to these things because this is the way I did them. My name is Carl Christian Krumpholz. I'm a cartoonist and illustrator based here in Denver. And it's really weird walking up and down this street, seeing my artwork. It's kind of humbling. Seeing this, my artwork is part of the history now of Colfax. That's fantastic. That's brilliant. This is just one part of a longer story about how Colfax's past as the longest, wickedest street in America. Even though things have rapidly changed over the last 10 years, that some of that old Colfax is still there. I mean, the Lion's Lair is still here. Pete's Kitchen and the Satire are both still here. Colfax is the beating heart of Denver. It's where everything comes down and winds up, is on Colfax. This is the river that flows through the city. And I would like people to learn to appreciate what we still have. Let's appreciate what these things still are, because kind of like the Aladdin, it might be gone in the next 5 to 10 years.
The artist kindly asked that you do not steal the banners. They'll have prints for sale starting tomorrow at the 30 Years of Colfax event at the Fillmore. Now, how about some more of your state mottos? It's taken 2 million pounds of ice and 40 artisans working for nearly a month inside this refrigerated workspace sitting in the single digits. After all that, we got you an early look at a new ice exhibition.
We are in the ice tent at Gaylord Rockies Resort. We are here for ice featuring Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. It's 45 days of this tent being 9 degrees, and people can come through and see scenes from the favorite holiday movie, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. There are 40 artisans from Harbin, China, and they have been here for about 3 weeks, and they are carving and sculpting and really making Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer come to life.
The whole thing started with like you see the big blocks of ice right here. Yeah, so first they like a stack of ice up, or they use a chainsaw to cut them into like smaller pieces, and then they'll use some more finer tools to like make it more like defined, and finally they use like the razor sharp, like kind of like a razor stuff, to make it really smooth. We're roughly like 99% done.
So I'm super excited. I love Rudolph. I always watch it. It's one of my favorite holiday movies. So very excited to see all of them come to life.
Ice opens November 22nd, runs through January 5th at the Gaylord Rockies Hotel. We have never asked any single question on this program that has prompted more responses than our search for a new state motto. I'll have some of your best next. It's a sign. It's a good thing the Manitou Incline is not a workplace, because its workplace safety sign would be pretty discouraging. Colorado Public Radio reporter we love, Dan Boyce, shared this photo. Part that reads, "Days since last injury. A few minutes ago," says the updated sign. The Manitou Fire Department says they believe this is a joke, but it is a good reminder that that is a difficult climb. 80 people were injured on the incline last year. Some of your state mottos to take us home. Shell says, "Colorado, headwaters for whatever you're drinking." Jim Thompson, "Come, spend money, go home." Dave says, "Colorado, it's all downhill from here." Are we starting to sense a theme with these? I actually kind of like this one from Lisa. This might be my pick. "Come to Colorado. Everyone else is here." See you next time.